At 4, ABC 10 News at 5 starts right now. And we start just days after those tortillas were thrown at the losing team of a high school basketball game. Attention is now turning towards consequences, the action local groups want to see. Plus, with COVID restrictions easing, more people are flying, but some airlines are cutting back on those flights. Why it's taking the industry so long to meet increased demand. And Senate Republicans block a signature Democratic election bill in a key test vote. What's next in this fight?
ABC 10 News at 5 starts now.
Calls are growing tonight to punish those involved in this tortilla throwing incident at the end of a nail-biting high school basketball championship game. Good evening, everybody. I'm Steve Atkinson. Coronado High School edged out Orange Glen High by just 3 points Saturday, but their celebration, it quickly turned into controversy and has since gone viral. Our ABC 10 News anchor Lindsay Pena kicks off our team coverage as both school boards prepare to hold emergency meetings tonight to address this issue. Lindsay.
Yeah, that's right, Steve. We've seen students, we've seen parents, community members, community activists all arriving for the meeting that was supposed to start at about 5 o'clock tonight. So right now getting underway here at the Coronado Unified School District building. Now that meeting was an emergency meeting. It was called to decide how the board wants to move forward and what action they're going to take to deal with this tortilla throwing incident that happened after Saturday night's championship baseball game. ABC 10 News reporter Rachel Bianco is also outside the meeting, and she has more on the demands being made ahead of the decision.
Hi, Lindsay. People continue to arrive. You can see at least one woman is out here holding a sign that says diversity matters here. The district did apologize for what happened, but many community leaders say that is not enough. They want consequences for the people responsible.
I am deeply sorry. My son is deeply sorry.
Terry Clark was nearly in tears, apologizing on behalf of Coronado High's basketball team. Her son was not involved, but she says they were appalled at what happened.
We read the news report. We cried. It was deplorable. My son did not want to go to this school anymore.
Community leaders, students, and parents gathered outside Coronado High to condemn the tortilla tossing that happened Saturday night after Coronado won a basketball championship against Orange Glen, a predominantly Hispanic team from Escondido.
We want firings. We want Coronado High School to have to forfeit that game.
Many people are now calling for Coach J.D. LePerry to be fired. Witnesses say the Coronado coach cussed out the opposing coach after the game.
Coach LePerry did what I have never ever seen. He cussed out our coach, backing away like a coward, telling him get the F out of here.
Andres Rivera's son plays for Orange Glen.
He's backing away as he's cussing our team out, just waiting for the tortillas to come. It was planned. It was not an accident.
Coach LePerry hasn't responded to our request for comment, but tweeted in part, "Unfortunately, a community member brought tortillas and distributed them, which was unacceptable and racist in nature. I do not condone this behavior." Some have said tortilla throwing is a way of celebrating, a tradition at some schools like Texas Tech. These community leaders say it is blatant racism.
We are sickened, and let me be clear, not surprised by the unsportsmanlike behavior of the individuals and the Coronado basketball team.
Some community leaders have said they want police to investigate this as a possible hate crime. Police have only said that an adult male brought the tortillas to the game, but they have not released any other information. Lindsay?
All right, thank you, Rachel. Meanwhile, ABC 10 News reporter Anthony Pura is up in Escondido, where the school board there is also having an emergency meeting tonight. Anthony.
And Lindsay, ahead of that meeting tonight, the Center for American Islamic Relations is holding a news conference here condemning that tortilla throwing incident. They are simply outraged about what happened after Saturday's basketball game. They felt the tortilla incident was a display of bigotry and hate aimed at Orange Glen, who is from a largely Hispanic school. Now, I spoke with an organizer with the Center of American Islamic Relations about why they felt they needed to make that statement tonight.
One part of our community is being attacked. This is a very concerning situation for us. This is not just Latinos getting attacked. This is a student getting attacked. This is a person who lives in San Diego getting attacked. We're part of this community as CARE.
Now, the Escondido Union High School District Superintendent released a statement earlier today. She called the incident an ugly and unacceptable racist behavior and added that the Board of Education tonight will meet to discuss a resolution to denounce racial discrimination and racism. We're reporting live in Escondido. Anthony Pura, ABC 10 News.
All right, thank you, Anthony. The NAACP also released a statement today that reads in part, Coronado must stop turning a blind eye to racial microaggressions, and in this case, microaggressions that continue to traumatize students of color within the district and throughout the county. It also listed off its suggestions for the CIF and Coronado, which include either Coronado sharing the CIF title with Orange Glen or CIF stripping the Coronado High School basketball team of its regional title, banning the 2 players who threw the tortillas, banning the Coronado High School coach for at least 1 year, implementing upstander training and restorative healing circles for both teams, coaches, and parents, banning the parent who brought those tortillas, and requiring Coronado High School to monitor the behavior of its players. Now, coming up at 5:30, Coronado is not the only school or district to deal with accusations of racism in our area. We're going to go in depth to see the steps that Poway Unified took when allegations of racism came to light there. Again, that's coming up today at 5:30. For now, we are live in Coronado. Lindsay Pena, ABC 10 News. Steve?
So many questions left to be answered tonight. Lindsay, thank you. In other news, a close call today when a truck plowed into a home with someone inside. This happened just before noon. Now, the man driving that truck says a car cut him off and he lost control, then crashed into this house on Thalia Street in Edgar Highlands, south of Chula Vista. Fortunately, the only person in the home at the time was in another room, was not hurt. For now, the 6 people, the 2 cats and 2 dogs who do live in that home will have to find another place to stay tonight.
Yesterday, we saw the most people that we've seen since March 2020.
With coronavirus restrictions easing, people are rushing to the airport for travel, but this is also happening at the very same time airlines are canceling hundreds of flights. Our ABC 10 News reporter Jeff Lasky reveals why it's taking airlines so long to ramp up to meet the increased demand.
It's starting to look busy again at San Diego International Airport.
We're not quite back to the normal traffic we would have seen pre-COVID, but we are seeing an increase in passengers through the terminal.
Airport spokesperson Sabrina Lopicolo says 67,000 people flew through San Diego Monday alone. San Diego passengers are down about 33% from 2019. However,
if you're the optimist, we're up 288% over last year.
But despite the increased demand, people are seeing their flights canceled. American Airlines has canceled dozens of flights across the country, including 2 from San Diego Tuesday. And they're warning there will be more flights affected in the coming weeks. USD economics professor Alan Ginn says many people weren't prepared for how quickly the demand for travel ramped up, especially the airlines.
But what they did was they encouraged a lot of workers then to either quit or retire early. And so as a result of that, their workforce is now much smaller than it was before the pandemic.
But for the airline industry, it's not as simple as announcing they're hiring.
It will take a while to sort itself out. I think, a lot of the positions that they need to fill are positions that people just walking in off the street won't be able to do.
That's particularly true for pilots. Once rehired, they need to go through days of retraining and simulated flights, and it'll take time for that to happen. Experts say the best thing for passengers to do is check your flights regularly in the days leading up to your trip. If there is a change that doesn't work for you, call the airline. You might be able to make a change or get a refund. Jeff Lasky, ABC 10 News.
A spokesperson for American says 2 other flights from San Diego have already been canceled in the first weeks of July. They told us, quote, "We made targeted changes with the goal of impacting the fewest number of customers by adjusting flights in markets where we have multiple options for reaccommodation." The next 3 months will be crucial if we want to avoid a resurgence of COVID here in the fall. As it stands now, 45% of the U.S. population is fully vaccinated. Johns Hopkins researchers say those numbers are the perfect gap for a coronavirus resurgence to take hold. One factor is COVID transmission being easier in cold weather. Another is that Delta variant, which a UC San Francisco doctor says could be the most prevalent variant by the fall.
I think that the less vaccination that occurs now with different pockets in this country, the more likely that will be, the Delta variant will be the most prevalent virus.
The modeling at Johns Hopkins is showing an uptick in transmissibility for the Delta variant if people don't get vaccinated fast enough. The White House is admitting that the U.S. will not meet the president's July 4th goal of having 70% of adults at least partially vaccinated. CDC data shows that young people are still hesitant to get their shots, and experts fear that is putting them at risk. 80% of those over 65 have received at least one dose, but only 38% of people 18 to 29 have done the same. Experts say that fewer vaccinations among the young puts them at greatest risk for the Delta variant.
In the last 2 weeks, the prevalence of cases resulting from the Delta variant has doubled to just over 20%. We know our vaccines work against this variant.
The White House says it may take a few extra weeks to reach that 70% goal. And Scripps Health is also facing a class action lawsuit following last month's ransomware attack that crippled the hospital's network system. The suit claims that Scripps Health failed to protect the personal and medical information of its patients from hackers. Data from almost 150,000 patients was stolen. The suit goes on to accuse Scripps Health of negligence and invasion of privacy as the result of the attack. It did take several weeks for Scripps Health to get its network back online after the attack. And in just the last 90 minutes, Senate Republicans used a filibuster to block a sweeping voting rights bill. The move dealt a blow to Democrats' efforts to counter a wave of ballot restrictions in Republican-led states. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze has more.
In a defeat for Democrats, an expansive voting rights and election reform bill has failed to advance in the Senate.
The motion is not agreed to.
All 50 Senate Republicans voting against a motion to debate the voting rights bill, ending its chances of moving forward in the chamber.
Look, what this is really about is an effort for the federal government to take over the way we conduct elections in this country. It is a solution in search of a problem. And so finally today, we will put an end to it here in the Senate.
The bill is a top priority for Democrats' legislative agenda, as Republican-led legislatures in more than a dozen states pass laws along party lines, putting new restrictions on voting. The state laws take steps like limiting mail-in voting in ballot drop boxes and tightening ID requirements, making it harder for Americans across the country to vote.
This state has perfected the means of suppressing the vote, of keeping some down to the benefit of others.
Most Democrats said the voting rights bill in the Senate seeks to counter these state measures with steps like making voter registration automatic, expanding absentee and early voting, limiting partisan gerrymandering, and reforming campaign finance laws. Democrats are vowing to press on, saying they're united in the fight to protect and expand voting rights.
Nobody is debating, I don't believe, whether all Americans have the right to vote. The issue here is there actual access to the voting process? The fight is not over.
A new Monmouth University poll found more than 2/3 of Americans say they support national guidelines to allow vote by mail or early in-person voting in every state. A majority of Republicans say they support the idea. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
Those seeking asylum under former President Trump's administration now have a second chance. The Associated Press reports registration starts tomorrow for those who were subject to the Remain in Mexico policy and had their cases dismissed or denied for failing to appear in court. The San Diego Union Tribune reports 7,000 cases were dismissed here in San Diego and more than 32,000 denied in Texas.